Hello, how are you? Good afternoon. First, I'd like to speak a little bit about myself and my experience. I'm a retired police officer where I worked as a police officer, plainclothes, uniform police officer, plainclothes, and as a detective. Uh, I currently work as a child counselor in a detention center where I work with youth from inner city, juveniles, and with the housing and detention center. I have done individual and group sessions with these kids and with their parents themselves, activities, also worked in liaison with the courts, probation officers, so on and so forth. I think the most important thing about being an investigator, trying to trace somebody or find somebody, is to establish a network. You have to understand the network that that person's involved with, and then utilize the tools that you may have. Tools meaning right now the internet, um, basic tools, even as basic as the phone book, um, directories. We have now the white pages, the yellow pages online. But the most important thing is to understand the network where that person's involved with, their family, friends, whatever, and be creative. Creativity, I believe, is a big part of it. I was a professional musician since the age of 13. I still play guitar. And I believe because of that, I was considered an abstract thinker. And I hate to coin the phrase thinking out of the box, but I was told that. I think out of the box. I think a little bit differently than most people think. Um, Essentially, what I do, I try not to think along the same lines as everybody else. I'm not a cookie cutter type of guy. I try to listen to what's going on, and I say, well, maybe this is what happened. For example, when I was a police officer, to give an example of this, I had worked a burglary case, and this was a long-standing burglary, which they had called the lockbox burglary after I solved it and caught the people who were perpetrating the crime. This crime had been widespread throughout several states. At the time of the burglary, and just to give you a recap on what was essentially happening, there was no forced entry with burglaries. There was no evidence at the scene. Nobody could figure it out. It got to the point. It got to the point where that's my dog. It got to the point where detectives had put it on an inactive file. Well, when I worked this case, I was thinking of all the things. We got the ID techs out to take all the evidence, and I'm looking around and walked around the neighborhood and looking around. I noticed that there was a little old lady that lived across the street a few houses by. And looked like she was looking through her blinds and everything else like that. So what I did, I walked to the little old lady's house and I identified myself that I was investigating a burglary across the street and if she saw anything unusual. Well, this old lady, not only did she see something unusual at that time, she saw a truck pull up, and these people are out of town for about a week. She saw a truck pull up. She identified the people in the truck. She had also gotten a license plate number, which we ran, and subsequently we solved the case. But that was very unusual for even somebody to do something like that. I mean, you're supposed to do a neighborhood canvass, but I just looked around. I thought this was probably the most likely person. She's looking at her blinds, so I figured maybe she's the kind of person who's kind of nosy and always looks out of her blinds. That's kind of an example of what I'm talking about, thinking outside the box or looking at things differently. So as far as stage presence for myself, I was a professional musician. I played on some pretty large stages, mostly in the New York City area, Long Island area. So, and I've also been in a TV commercial for Microsoft on the PC. The only line I had was "Yeah." So, if you've seen that, that was me. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.